New York Times best-selling author John Gilstrap.
Good morning.
You've been playing hurt lately, man.
I have.
Yeah. How's the back?
The back will be much better next Wednesday. I'm getting it operated on, but it's
Non-complicated spinal surgery, piece of cake.
yeah, in and out.
What could go wrong?
Yeah, exactly. It's you do it yourself, actually.
Yeah. This is related to the firefighter days?
I don't know. All of it contributes, I guess. Some of it might be because I'm getting older, but.
Now, for those of you who don't know, John literally fell through a floor, down another floor while fighting a fire. How many years ago was that?
30, probably.
30 years ago? Yeah.
And found the seat of the fire.
Found ground zero on that one, yeah. Yeah.
So. Were you able to get out?
Yes, I found a window. What I didn't have was a hose line. So I was doing a search and rescue thing.
Okay.
So we had a lot of smoke and a lot of heat. We couldn't find the fire.
This is a great lead-in for the next guest.
I am confused about that question. Were you able to get out? Because obviously
I'm
he's
here.
sitting right here.
Yeah, that was poorly worded. I mean, obviously he got out. You're not a ghost, are you?
Yeah, well.
No, I meant, I guess the question was more, how did you get out? Were you able to
There
walk
you
out?
go.
Were you
There was a window.
Adrenaline kicking in, and you just...
Yeah, there was a window, and I got out that way. Didn't get burned.
Well, we're glad to have you.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, best of luck on your surgery, sir.
Thank you.
And via telephone, our guest is Dr. Christina Wildfire, and I think that's what Matt was alluding to with the intro. Doctor, good morning. Great to have you with us.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting conversation because you're going to qualify as the smartest person in the room on this one. Yeah.
By far.
The 2025 Faces of American Innovation report named 5 people, and one of those is out of the state of West Virginia. That is our guest, Dr. Christina Wildfire, a researcher at the National Energy Technology Laboratory who developed a microwave-based recycling device that converts plastics, waste, and greenhouse gases like CO2 into usable energy. I understand maybe 1% of what I just read there, Dr. Wildfire. But before we get into that, talk to us about your work as a research scientist at the National Energy Technology Laboratory, how you wound up there, and how this turned out to be your mission in life.
Yeah, I'd be glad to kind of walk through all of this. So I started kind of my journey in research at Mercer University in Georgia. I'm a mechanical and material science engineer. Had no clue what an engineer was when I went to school, but ended up absolutely loving it. So I came to this great state of West Virginia for my PhD. Got it at West Virginia University, and that's how I got introduced to NETL, the National Energy Technology Laboratory, which is one of 17 of the Department of Energy's national labs. So West Virginia houses one of 17 of these great research institutions. So I did a little bit of research with the group that I'm currently with, doing natural gas conversion back then. I went and I worked in the defense industry for a couple of years. I taught material science for a couple of years and, moved all over the United States. And my husband and I wanted to come back to West Virginia. So I called up my former advisor here at the lab and asked, hey, are you guys hiring? And that was 9 years ago. Today I am with the same group that I started with during my PhD. So what was different was he said, hey, we're using microwaves now. And I was like, well, I have one in my kitchen, but that's about all I know about them. And so I learned on the job, and I haven't looked back. It's been an amazing experience over the last 9 years.
You'll be one of those who received the 3rd Annual American Innovator Award in Washington, D.C. on June the 4th, not too far away from today. Tell me about that award presentation, what you know about that.
Yeah, so I get to go to D.C. with all the other amazing award winners that is showcasing, what federally funded research gives to the United States, right? We all grew our technology out of, federal grants, either out of the national labs or through universities. And all of these technologies have started businesses in the United States. So, it's it's a very important thing to understand, is that a lot of small companies come from federally supported research. So, we'll go to DC, we'll each get to talk a little bit about our journeys, our technologies, get to talk to, senators and congressmen on Capitol Hill, and just thank them, right, for the support and for allowing the research and trying to continue, right, that public-private partnership for small businesses in the United States.
Now, please describe your invention and the practical use of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, we use microwaves very much like you use your kitchen microwave. And let me explain how that works exactly. We don't have a bunch of kitchen microwaves in our lab. They look a little different, but they work the same. So the reason you use your microwave at home is it heats your food faster, right? It's very convenient. It doesn't heat up your house like an oven does. And that's because what's happening is the microwaves are making the water in your food wiggle, and that makes everything heat up. And so we're using kind of the same principles in our lab. We are making different molecules or different materials in the microwave heat, and that saves a lot of energy because we're not having to heat the whole reactor vessel that you do now. We're not having to burn natural gas to heat these chemical processes. So we're saving a lot of money, and we're saving a lot of energy by using the microwave to provide this process heat. And we're also able to make these things a lot smaller. So for local communities, that's a really big positive. The way we make chemicals now is really, really big facilities, and that's the way it becomes economical. But if you have things like plastic waste, like hospital waste, for example, you can't recycle that and you can't landfill it because it could be a biohazard. But we can process it in a smaller microwave and provide the hospital with energy back into their grid. And then we also get carbon that we can sell to automotive manufacturers, to cement manufacturers. And now we're looking at the carbon for enhanced oil recovery. So you have, two products that you're getting from a waste that couldn't be used before.
John, you also have a safety engineering background, your master's degree. Does any of this make sense to you?
A little bit, and I also have a recycling background. I don't understand if we're taking hospital waste and we're running it through a microwave. I think I understand how you can create regular non-medical waste by getting rid of the microbes that way. But how does the hospital get energy back from that?
Sure. So what we're doing is completely breaking down all that plastic into hydrogen. And that hydrogen can either be combusted or it can be put into fuel cells that create electricity for the hospital.
Right now, I presume it's a new invention. Is there a practical commercial application for this? Would this require rebuilding the basement of a hospital?
No, so it would be, put beside the hospital. So these would be co-located. There's talk about co-locating with kind of retail chains because they have a lot of plastic waste that they have daily that they could put into, this reactor. It would kind of look like a shipping container, right? Everything would be in a small housing that they could just put in the waste into like a bin, and that would kind of feed into this little mini chemical plant, basically. So it's highly automated and all contained into kind of a single unit.
It's very exciting when you put metal into your microwave at home,
to say the least.
The conveyors and such, as I'm envisioning this, that would take the plastics through this microwave. How do you do that?
Yeah, so we can process metals in a microwave. You're right. With the reason we don't put metals in our kitchen microwaves, there's a couple things, right? So if you put your food in a metal bowl, your food would never heat up because the microwaves can't actually get to the food. The metal would reflect the microwaves off, so it kind of acts as a shield. So that's why we don't put metal bowls in a microwave. And then you don't put a fork in the microwave because the pointy edges of the fork create arcing. We don't want that either. However, like the bigger microwaves that we use, you can have a certain amount of arcing without any sort of damage, and the metals that, might be mixed into this hospital waste would just reflect the microwave. So that could be sorted out in the back end and wouldn't hurt the process.
That was very educational, by the way. I had no idea that the way microwaves worked and why a pointed fork reacts the way it does. That's good stuff.
Is this
Matt Harvey?
Has this technology been applied to industrial and commercial uses yet?
It has. So actually, one of the, it's used a lot in food and agriculture. So you don't kind of realize where the microwaves are used, but it is used for drying a lot of our crops before they go to processing or into the food manufacturing industry. It's used to actually bake foods and sanitize foods. So it's used very largely in that community. It's also been used in the mining community. So again, you can make these kind of conveyor belt microwaves, and so you can dry your coal or your ore before you're shipping it, and it saves a lot of weight, right, when you're shipping, and saves a lot of cost just being able to dry off the excess water that you have to get rid of anyways. And then we're also looking into using the microwave to recover critical minerals from things like shale, from coal here in West Virginia. We have a lot of resources in the state that we are looking at how we can kind of build industry here.
Is your technology going to wind up on Mars?
Well, you never know. So the company that licensed this technology, the hydrogen plastics to hydrogen, did have a grant through NASA to look at putting these microwaves into space for things like creating energy and taking care of the waste on potential colonies. So it is always a possibility.
Yeah. Is the National Energy Technology Laboratory a federal government lab, or is this private?
It is. It is a federally owned and federally operated research lab.
Have any cuts affected any of your research in regards to what you're doing now?
So our mission is extremely important to the United States and to the Secretary of Energy. We fall under fossil energy, and so there's great support for the lab.
Oh, it's very good to hear. Excellent.
I was curious, where is your laboratory located in West Virginia?
Yeah, we are in Morgantown, West Virginia.
So have you been following the discussion about the microgrid bill in West Virginia?
I have not.
What it would allow is data centers. It would kind of equalize the regulations for data centers, and then allow them to have microgrids to create the energy to support them. Is this? So I'm just thinking, if we have landfills across the state, would it be? Could there be enough energy produced by this technology to help supplement the energy required for these data centers?
Yeah, absolutely. The data centers are extremely important to Department of Energy. We all the labs have supercomputers. We rely on, these high-speed computations for our research. It really accelerates technology, and it does take a lot of energy. But we have great resources here in the state. So we have a lot of natural gas. The landfill gas is something that we are also looking at, placing modular reactors at. We can convert that landfill gas into, hydrogen and CO, which is syngas that's either used, again, for chemical production. We can make methanol. You can make a lot of different things from landfill gas to supplement, the energy market.
But is it enough to really? I guess I'm trying to get the scale of this. Is this more of a more cleaning up, or is it really going to add to the bottom line with energy production?
No, it really does add to the bottom line, and it's also taking something that is currently unused, right? So it's an untapped resource at the moment that could really create additional revenue, right, for those companies and for the state.
We had a company here in Martinsburg that what was it? Astorga
And
Sorga.
Yes. That I don't know if they were utilizing the microwave, but they were trying to take
that was waste energy.
Waste energy.
Right. It was just that. I think they were just burning it.
I think that's correct, yeah. Dr. Christina Wildfire is our guest here on the program. She works out of Morgantown. So as this product gets used, Doctor, are there licensing fees or revenue that's generated kind of like tax revenue to the federal government, or what?
So yeah, so the Bayh-Dole Act actually put a lot of that in motion as far as how federal dollars can be used as far as licensing and technology transfer. But so essentially, we as a lab aren't here to profit from the technology, right? We are here to grow the U.S. economy to make energy more accessible and more efficient. So there is, licensing terms that we all follow. Multiple companies can license the technology for different use cases. And there can be sometimes small royalties that goes back into the research, into the lab. And so we use that to expand our research even more.
Now, when this is employed in a waste environment, they're pretty draconian solid waste regs and hazardous waste regs and medical waste regs. Mm-hmm. Can all of this be done within the current regulatory structure, or does it require new regs?
Mm-hmm. No, it can. We can operate within, current structure.
How long did it take you start to finish from the time you began researching this to the time you were able to actually get a working model?
Oh, yeah. That's a good question. So this was a very accelerated project, actually. Some energy technologies are really slow to get to market. There is a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of stakeholders that you engage with. This one, because we work directly with the founder of Cecilia Energy, we were able to really kind of accelerate our timeline. We did do this research project very much like a startup would do their launching of a company. We knew the end goal. We knew the products that we wanted. We knew the waste that we wanted to target. And we really hit the ground running. So we worked, here at the lab for about 2 years to really get proof of concept. And then Cecilia kind of took the technology and started scaling. So we helped them design a larger reactor, which she had built in her lab and is doing pilot scale testing now. So it's really only been 3 years, which is very quick when it comes to trying to get something to market. And she's at pilot scale now and in the process of commercializing. So, a lot of technologies, even 5 years is pretty quick to get something marketable. And so I think it was just coming at it from the mindset of, we're coming at this as a small business instead of we are really trying to research it and figure it out, right? All the little nitty-gritty details of the process. We were really like, how quickly can we make this work and make it profitable enough to get it out the door? And so that really helped, accelerate this particular project.
Was there a problem along the way that was stumping you or otherwise thwarting progress that you had to solve to get to the end game?
Oh, yeah, there's always problems. So, plastic isn't the most fun thing to work with. When it gets hot, it gets sticky. It sticks to everything. It doesn't smell great. So you have to kind of work around that. The microwave is really kind of great for this because the plastic doesn't really heat in the microwave. You have to have something else in the reactor to provide the heat. So that really helped us prevent, just having a lot of sticky plastic on the walls of our reactor. And then it was trying to figure out how to continuously feed the plastic into a hot reactor without it, getting stuck on the inlet. So those are real trouble points to try to, make this reactor bigger and bigger. But it took a little while. It took a lot of very smart people to put their heads together and come up with some solutions.
If a hospital wanted to enact your system, how much space would they need? How much money would it cost to do? And how many people would they need to operate this?
Yeah, so, Cecilia Energy is really handling the business side of the technology. I don't have, a number as far as, what a standalone unit would cost. But typically these businesses are kind of service businesses. So the hospital wouldn't necessarily need to manage the reactor and the whole process itself. That is something that the company would do as a service. So really the hospital would be supplying the waste and then off taking the hydrogen, and then Cecilia would be, selling the carbon as a profit. So it's really more of a partnership between the hospital and the company.
And is the unit itself the size of a room, a washing machine?
Yeah, so it'd be like a shipping container, right? It depends on the size of the hospital. So 1 or 2 shipping containers is kind of the modular unit that we try to build for.
All right. You initially started out studying medicine and wound up in engineering. What changed your path?
Yeah, I always wanted to be a doctor. I just went about it a different way, right? I was fascinated by biology and loved chemistry in high school. So, I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a doctor. But I am terrified of blood. So that was a little bit of a drawback on that career path. But I was gonna forge through. I was like, well, maybe I'll be a research physician. And Mercer University kind of called me up about a month before I was going to start school and said, hey, we got a donation for women in STEM. And if you switch to biomedical engineering, we can give you this scholarship, and you can still be pre-med. You just do biomedical engineering instead of biochemistry. And I didn't know any engineers. I didn't know what engineering was. My dad and I, got on the computer that night and was trying to Google, what is an engineer? And I told my dad, I was like, I don't like building things. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, but I'll give it a try. And switched to biomedical engineering and ended up absolutely loving my engineering courses, the statics and the mechanics. So it turns out I do actually like building things. I just didn't know it. And so taking that leap, and taking that chance on something new, turned out to be, one of the best decisions I've made.
That's pretty cool.
I have a really trivial question about microwaves.
1 minute to go.
Okay.
1 minute to go. Why does it make my bagel turn to rubber when I microwave a bagel instead of toasting it?
Yeah. So you're getting rid of the water content, so you're kind of drying it out, but also the starch is probably interactive, and it kind of embrittles it. So you're changing the chemistry a little bit of your bagel. So what you have to do is you have to wrap your bagel in a damp paper towel if you're trying to kind of revive that bagel a little bit. You want to steam it.
Hot take.
We should do a monthly segment with you. Yeah. Questions about my microwave with Dr. Christina Wildfire.
It's the best way to cook corn on the cob.
Hey, congratulations to you, Christina. That's great for you. June the 4th is when you get the award, one of 5 chosen in the country. Congratulations once again.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Right out of Morgantown, West Virginia. Great talking with you. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.